Weird. That looks like Dr. Flanagan from G-Quix, not Dr. Flanagan from 79.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with the final episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team. We of course have a movie after this, not to be recorded in this recording session. It'll be its own thing. But for now, we're going to be watching episode 12. We do have comments. We come with notes. But first thing, though, is the board. And with the board comes the board changelog, where I have added Isan, I have added Barry, Bjorn, Niver, and a character known to the community as Kurgarenko. Not their name, because they don't actually get named. They're named for, I guess, the location of their death. Speaking of which, I've also marked Yuri, Lunin, Cynthia, Norris, Bjorn, Barry, Isan, Niver, Rob, Sally, Kurgarenko, and Guineas as dead. Such are the notes. At some point, I just, stopped writing down, I put a green line between this and that, and then I put a red line between this and that. I guess the added effort that I put in to include a board link to an image in every description of every Patreon post and YouTube video, it's just, I'm acknowledging the characters that appeared. You can look at the lines, you're on your own.
I suppose a white line between Aina and... Okay, checking that. So...
that's probably from the beginning. Hold on. Let's solve that right now. There we go.
It's Elidor and Karen.
That's already...
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was comparing, the boss is dead. Guineas will now be mourned. Norris was a badass.
I kind of have a note that may be interpreted as mourning Guineas, but I know I quickly flip on it because I think I started writing it in episode 10 and then finished the thought in episode 11.
Cynthia, oh god, that was horrible. Jury, I think
somebody was getting off to the Cynthia thing. Did you ever watch Archer?
Yes.
Archer Vice, where what's her name? Pam. She's on the coke fiend arc, and they tie her up. It's like, ooh, a little bit tighter, a little bit. That's what's going on. That's what's going on with Cynthia. They're very much just exposing a little bit of chest here, but the ropes are right there, and it's like somebody's enjoying this.
Yeah, I don't think it was Cynthia though. They didn't go full shibari on it, so
I don't think that's the word.
I guess I have to do a double check.
I know that's the word.
Japanese bondage, yeah. So
that's not the word I think I've heard before, though. I swear there's another word.
I mean, there's more than one. This is Japanese we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm not thinking. Maybe I'm thinking about a word not Japanese. Keep going. I'll just keep looking up Japanese rope bondage and see what comes up.
I think it would be mutual though between Yuri and Kellen. Yuri and Cynthia.
Hasn't been expressed. Yuri was hitting on literally Aina in front of Cynthia. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, I know. I think he saw himself as a ladies' man, father to his men. Until he wasn't. Yeah, the 7th MS team really bought it, and they do get name dropped at the very end by Kojima. First time I was watching it, I was like, oh, he's just rattling different names. Like, no, he's actually talking about the
Well, I mean, it's indicated before that, too.
Yeah. But I didn't pick it up because I was like
neither do I, but literally the entire point of one of my notes is about how I didn't pick it up, and I say it in the note, so I'm not...
Where's Captain Ryan? It said Captain, it should be Commander Ryan.
Nope.
It should be General Ryan, actually.
Nope.
Where?
Nope, they call him Captain.
Yeah, I know, but he had 3 pips on his shoulder That's not a captain's rank. He's a general.
Here's the problem. Not the real universe. So...
But in the Universal Century Fetty universe, captains are having the color.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I've argued with you before about is the fact that internal consistency has to be made on their end, which means that whatever is happening has to be explained in their own universe. You're saying this is inconsistent. I'm saying maybe he put on a different uniform.
I think it's a translation.
Okay, here's another problem is that you're reaching outside the medium to blame something other than the internal medium itself. You remember that time where we watched Rebel and they gave him a lower ranking uniform because it's all they had on hand? Didn't change the fact that he was a general. So he's still General Rebel in a lower ranking uniform. Same thing here is that Kojima calls him a captain. Calls him a captain. The subtitles say captain. English translation, he says captain. I believe the man is a captain. I have more evidence to suggest that he didn't just wear the wrong uniform, that he's a captain. Like I said, I would argue that the 3 pips thing must mean something different here, or he spilled coffee on his uniform and had to get a lower enlisted man. Or actually, hey, boss, give me your uniform. Yeah, I don't know. Dude's evil, actually. I have a whole note about how he's evil, so maybe he's got dirt on a superior. That's why he feels like he can do this shit. Obviously, he's got connections to Jaburo, to the whole Kojima I hate air conditioning thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is the kind of shit that if you were like in the 80s, or sorry, if you were in the 90s on, old school message boards, you'd be making up theories about why does he have 3 pips if he's a captain? And there'd be this whole like side story. People would just fucking write about this guy, about why he was wearing 3 pips that day and being called a captain.
I'm sure there's people still do that to this day.
I think it's like, yeah, but I don't know. It's just more special back in the day. Because you were a smaller group, insular group actually, on a less traveled... Sorry, I can't remember the name of the message boards back then.
USNet?
I mean, it is one of them. That's not what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to remember the specific name of a specific board, and it's not coming to my head.
I mean, I used to be
overwhelmed with rope bondage now.
But I never really participated. I just sort of would read and then move on to the next and read, and
I spent my time on Talk City with Alternity, which was a TSR sci-fi setting. Also,
I played it.
The Star Trek website, with the chat would often devolve into roleplay. So,
I was most in the Babylon 5 one because JMS would post.
I mean, literally, I was doing Star Trek roleplay. I know, yeah, I would read those because I also take those as arguments to current Babylon 5 people who say you shouldn't watch In the Beginning as the first movie, whereas JMS on a posting on the forum says yes, you should. This is a great way to introduce new people to Babylon 5. Especially if they don't care about the mystery. Blah, blah, blah. That's the subtext to that one. That's the one that bites me in the ass, as he also says, if you don't care as much about the mystery, it's a great way to start the show. But I only brought that up very specifically because that was also the era that Star Trek Voyager came out. And Star Trek Voyager on UPN aired back-to-back with Babylon 5. So I was also watching Babylon 5 at the time, while being online talking about the Borg and Species 8472.
That had nothing to do with the Vorlons.
Yeah, no, I mean, where would I be, right? Star Trek had a whole website. I didn't know anything about the forums. Well, anyway, it seems like by our tangent, you have nothing left to say about the board.
No. Just commenting on those who had passed away or been blown the fuck away by the giant laser.
Or a bomb in a hallway. But, we have notes. As I said, I have more, which means by the rules, I go first. From the simulation of what the Absolus could do at Jaburo, I kind of have to wonder if Big Zoms are just a scaled-down version of the Absolus. We know the Absolus development has been going on for a long time now, So it's not impossible that any discoveries made in its development could go on to influence other projects. That and the final model of the Absolus launched on December 7th, and just 17 days later, we see an unfinished Big Zom being delivered to Dozel at Solomon.
Yeah, probably. But at the same time, I would say with all the inner fighting and compartmentalization in Xeon, and how, especially how Genius himself was such a, how can I put this, a prick.
Well, he was fighting to get the project not canceled. I don't feel like he was fighting much to prevent its discoveries helping other places. I think if you think back to, I don't remember his name, the bald guy from MS Igloo. What's his name? Was his name May or April? April? I've called him so many different names. Oliver May. May's boss in MS Igloo, who was responsible for directing all of these test projects. I feel like he wasn't all about like keeping shit compartmentalized. It feels like he was fine with spreading the knowledge of wealth.
Okay, to my note then. Episode 9.
I didn't put him
on
the board. Oh no, Albert Scheidt. That was his name. I was like, I'm looking over the board. I'm like, where the fuck is this guy? Do I just forget him? No, it's curious. Not bald, by the way.
Title?
No, I don't.
You don't have the title.
Remember, I don't separate them into which episode, so I have no reason to do that.
Yeah. Well, just episode 9 then. Why bother with nukes when you have a mobile armor with the power to match them or surpass them in a single shot? That blast must be estimated in kilotons at least, if not megatons. Considering that Operation British planned to drop a multi-million ton structure on Jaguar to destroy it, that makes this MA, the Absolus, the most powerful single weapon outside of the solar array beam in the 1-year war.
Disagree. I mean, you said outside. Well, you said outside, so I guess you're including the Federation version of the solar array system too.
Yeah.
As one thing, because the solar array. Sorry, what's the Xeon one called? That is solar ray.
Solar beam.
I'm pretty sure the Xeon one's called solar ray.
No, solar beam, because they converted a abandoned, or actually they.
Well, either way, the one that you're not naming, I would also throw into that. But I guess you're just including them as one thing for some reason.
Yeah.
Similar. Well, they're not even similar systems. One is ironically, you could also say that the solar beam is a colony, because it is. They literally abandoned a whole colony and turned it into a weapon.
They turned a Banshee into a weapon, yeah.
Yeah, so literally, you could double down. You could fire that thing and then throw it at somebody, as is the Xeon way. Which makes it twice as effective as the Federation one, which is literally all mirrors.
Yeah, but mirrors can be
destroyed a lot easier than a colony.
And substituted as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I talked to you about this before, about Troy Rising, with that novel series that I wrote, that I read. Well, you wouldn't want me to write it either, because it's very, let's just say it's heavily conservative, the person who wrote it. Where the idea is energy generation by tons of mirrors around the sun and being redirected all over the place, which is also the solar system's self-defense weapon. All those mirrors. So not an idea I'm not unfamiliar with or anything, but
yeah.
I would just say, though, the thing that literally we saw, Island Iffish could not be stopped by the entire fleet. Whereas I think Big Zom was rushing towards those mirrors, just firing away. So I find it pretty funny that the Jaburo simulation had an end credits scene with a director, artists, narrator, and a special thanks, as though it wasn't just a horrible simulation showing how Xeon might pull back victory from the jaws of defeat, but a Hollywood movie concept.
Yes, but I think it's also a way to sneak in the credits, especially.
I looked it up. Yeah. There's no acknowledgement of those are actually real people. Like, there's no listing that those are people that worked on the show or anything. So if it is, not well done. You know, it's not like sneaking your name into the credits of, I can't remember the name of the Atari game where the first Easter egg happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
not like that where people actually figured out who those people were. I was on the Google Wiki just trying to figure out if this was that case. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool. I liked it.
Well, it's like every
Uh,
time, I think we brought it up in MS Igloo, where they just have like names in the background. Like, oh,
yeah.
this is the name of the guy who's piloting that thing. And it's like, oh, is that somebody important in the manga or something? And you look it up, and it's like, no, there's no record anywhere. Just a name. Not everything's an
Um,
Easter egg.
yeah. My second note then. As exciting as the Gaul appearing out of nowhere was, doesn't the Fetty transport have a radar? Don't the Fetties have their own ground-based radars to track activity in their area? Aerial or space-borne radars? And yes, I know people are going to say Minovsky particles, but literally this thing was like right on top of the other. They were flying and this was on top of it and nobody went like, the fuck is that? You
I
know?
am going to respond to yours with my own. I'm going to skip ahead there because
Yeah.
I have more between this and that. I will argue against your radar thing. That one, they're trying to be stealthy. Two, the ground radar system, they're technically flying over Xeon territory on a stealth mission. So, might
Yeah,
not.
the radar reaches.
Depends. This is a mountainous region, as we've already seen by your argument of the snow-capped mountains.
Yeah.
Look, I live near an airport, near the beach, where we have the rules about how tall buildings can get, specifically for
Mhm.
not blocking radar signals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the region might not be workable for it. But my note, I don't particularly recall Gauze being extremely stealthy or anything, so it's relatively shocking that they started to do an airdrop and a Gauze is just there under some cloud cover. I understand it's a bit of a stealth mission on their side, but they've got all sorts of visual sensors on their Gundams and aircraft that should have picked this thing up. Remember the heat sensors that picked up the downed Obsolus in the jungle some episodes back? I imagine this thing is putting out some heat that not even cloud cover could hide.
I mean, it's literally smoking and belching from one of its engines, which then explodes and gets into fire as it tries to land. This is a damaged Gaul too.
Well, I'm
Right?
just saying, I remember having this like little back and forth with you about heat sensors being able to pick stuff up, and then we were looking for the Obsolus, and literally on an IR spectrum, there's that. Oh, that's the outline of the Obsolus in heat. It's like, okay, they had that in their Gundams before. You're telling me
Yeah.
that their I would say drop pod. They're I don't know what the names of the aircraft are. I know the names of Gauze. I don't know what the name of the Federation
Yeah.
things are. That they don't have it. Literally, it looked like the pilots were wearing night vision
Night
goggles.
vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense.
My note or your note? Did you jump to
Technically,
your
I
note?
read a note in response to your note, so I think it's back to you again.
Commander Eisen Ryder, overall commander of Fetty forces in Southeast Asia, is an asshole. If Shin cannot be trusted, he shouldn't be in the front lines, period.
It might be an issue of manpower. Although, not that it seems to matter to
Yeah.
him, since he's like, let's sacrifice more GMs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, again, it just might be a matter of manpower. Literally, we're pulling people from the colonies in to fight the war here.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, 2, 3 guys, I mean, they seems to have plenty of people around, right? So he could have, you know,
Well, no, they're implying that they haven't been able to puncture the Xeon base's defenses this entire time, and
yeah.
they just, well, Kojima says they've lost, what, 9, and the other guy's like, it's actually 6. It's like, I don't care how many it is.
Yeah. We lost people we shouldn't have lost, you asshole. Yeah, that's the point. But still, it's like, but this is not merely, oh, we need manpower. We think this guy cannot be trusted, and I later on give certain orders specifically to deal with this guy in case he goes rogue. It's like, yeah, no, that's just more disruptive to your unit than anything else. You just easier put someone in charge.
I mean, he didn't care
lose
there
the-
either. He literally orders
Yeah,
the order that you're talking about extend to the whole unit, in fact. So,
yeah.
again, I also have a note about that, so I'm not going to break up your note to talk about it either.
The point is, the guy's an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get into the Isan is evil until much later. Episodes 9 through 11 of 8th MS Team, including Battle in the Third Dimension, takes place on December 5th to December 7th. So it shares its timeline with episode 1 of MS Igloo Apocalypse 79. In case you don't remember, that'd be the repeated attempts of Marine Ensign Werner Holbein dropping from the sky to attack launching Federation ships attempting to reach space. The closest other event would be 6 days later in Mobile Suit Gundam, when Slegger joins the crew at Jabro. White Base launches as a decoy, and we see our first Big Row. Events from around the world.
Michel proved his bravery here, but him screaming in the background was hilarious when he was playing decoy so that Karen wouldn't get killed. Yeah, he was being brave, but screaming at the top of his lungs because he kept going. That was
well, nobody told him it was done.
Yeah. That's very much I'm going to do it, but I don't have to like it kind of situation.
Isan seems to imply, by saying that Revel's Antarctic treaty might have screwed them, that Zeon has been able to develop all these new weapons while the Federation has had its hands tied. While no evidence really exists to suggest otherwise, I mean, from the point that we're at now, I really find it unbelievable that there isn't some secret weapons testing unit out there on the Federation side doing all sorts of illegal shit too.
I mean, yeah. But I think it's, the way I understood it was like, oh, we can just nuke these guys and the war would have been quicker, right?
Well, I mean, that's what Gundam Seed would make you believe, and that didn't work out. I mean, I literally bring up Gundam Seed only specifically because it is a reimagining of this. Yeah. The same way that 00 is supposed to be a reimagining of Wing. So, if they thought, nukes could just finish this, and then that's what they do in Seed, is just try and fucking nuke them, and it doesn't work, well...
No, but they do have the technology to stop nukes from going off, so...
It doesn't... Well, I mean, to be fair, that would be the equivalent here, then, of Zeon hitting Earth with a bunch of anti-nuke shit. Like, no more nukes for you. Which would be weird in the perspective, because you were saying that Federation could just end the war by nuking Munzo. And to be fair,
I mean,
I think we've had, I actually think,
Monzo.
I literally think
nuking on Earth.
I think we've had this discussion before with the concept of somebody sneaking into Munzo with a dirty bomb or something.
No, but I don't mean Munzo, though. I actually mean using, because if you have officers like this suggesting this, he says, like, yeah, we instead of retreating in the face of, say, Europe, we could have just put a couple of nukes, like what the vaporization bomb that the Zeon uses, stuff like that. Like, oh, you're attacking, we're gonna retreat. Oh, never mind. I mean, the Federation probably considers that the Earth is big enough so they can just lose 100 acres or 1,000 acres to a couple of nukes, right? As long as it doesn't go planetary, and they already have a planetary. And anyway, billions of people have died, so it's like we had a lot of free real estate anyway.
I don't think it works out well for you if that's the path you want to go down, because obviously Zeon is only just barely, holding back. Like McQueeve is very willing to pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah.
So if the Federation starts doing it, I don't think the Zeon is going to hold back as much or as little, depending on how you look at it, that they have been.
But I think that's his thinking. I'm not saying that I would recommend obvious reasons, but I think that's what he would like. Oh, we got our hands tied. We got to use our own nukes. I'm like,
it's hard to argue that my constant utilitarian point of view that I would not argue that. But then again, I do allude a lot back to the Dozel Ramba argument in Origin as that very specific argument being made by the show about whether these things are justified morally and ethically versus, again, pragmatically. Was that not? What was the last thing we read?
No, that was yours, yeah.
I'm confused. He's like, what are we talking about?
Oh, my next note is pretty short. Told you Yuri was a father to his men. Didn't work out for him, but he tried.
I mean, technically, Norris was a father to his men.
Two. You can have more than one.
Well, technically, I guess.
Actually, Norris was a father
though?
to Aina. Aina, that's what he was a father to.
Yeah, so he's a father to his girls.
Yeah. A girl.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, he's literally the only one. You're like a father to me. Yuri isn't like
But
a father. He's just a respected guy.
yeah, but that is a terminology like a commander who tries to take care of his men and protect them, unlike another commander on the field.
I don't
The
know,
term
man.
is
I'm
it's
thinking
literally a
back.
trope.
I'm
It's
thinking
literally
back
called a
to
trope. Yeah.
say an officer and a gentleman, where that guy's commander literally treated him like a child that needed to grow up and turned him into a better person. At the same time, he would never say you're like a father to me. So,
No, I don't think Jury fits that category.
yeah, what I'm saying is that I don't think he treats them like I don't think anyone would ever say to Yuri, "You're like a father to me," or "He's a father
Yeah,
to
but
his men," because it's not the same. I understand you're saying it's a turn of phrase. I'm saying that I don't think the turn of phrase applies.
I mean, it's a trope, and as a trope, I think it does apply.
I don't think. I mean, well, no reason to go in circles. I disagree. Obviously, you think it's your note. It's your note at the end of the day. I mention a lot that when I rewatch these episodes, for notes, I rewatch them in English. Well, the commander of the GAW, Bjorn August, is voiced by Robert Axelrod, obviously, I mean, in English. It's such an iconic voice that jumped out at me. I had to figure out why I knew it so well. Well, he plays Dr. Landis in my favorite episode of Cowboy Bebop, Brain Scratch. Second, I've never watched any Super Sentai, but I was a Power Rangers kid, and he was the third voice of Lord Zed, the best Power Rangers villain of all time that has no Super Sentai counterpart. That's a joke I keep making on our Discord. I'll watch Super Sentai when they get a Lord Zed.
Genius. I think the Fetties already know where you are. Adding balconies and flashing lights to a mountain are not peak stealth features, at least in my opinion.
I mean, they didn't know
It's
where
like,
he was
oh,
for the longest time. That was my
yeah,
crack at the show. Not the
yeah.
balconies was always your thing. They've got 12 lights that are on at night, all down the side of the mountain, and nobody knows where you are. I don't think that's a show of your genius. I think that's a show of their stupidity.
Or a combination of the two.
Well, no. You put 12 lights down
Is
the
it?
side of a mountain. You're clearly not a genius. It's
Yeah,
not a
true.
combination.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the Fetties stupidity that they didn't figure it out earlier. But once are like, oh, that's the direction. Oh, yeah, there it is. Light up and everything like a Christmas tree.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like this is meant to be the Xeon Jaburo. That it's a
Yeah.
sprawling underground complex, and maybe when we're looking at the 12 lights one, if that's just like an outpost of the underground. Because it certainly doesn't,
Where?
well, I would say it certainly doesn't look like the place that the show ends on. But at the same time, Elidor literally says out loud, they've reshaped the mountain, so who the hell knows? The doctor calling out the original motivation for the war, the independence of the colonies, here on the verge of the war's end. It's just good to hear some Xeon soldiers still talking about that and not, the making them pay and everything we've heard, like, from Gundam Seed motivations.
I mean, I always admitted that the Xeon's initial motivation wasn't. I never been against the fact that Xeon had the right to be independent and decide their own destiny. I'm all for that. Killing billions of people, killing millions in order to kill billions.
It's, the
That's the part where
agreement
I
I
am.
feel like we may have here is that we both agree with the Degwin Xeon, not the Giran Xeon. Degwin,
Yeah.
who didn't want the war, who I think 3 times in Origin pushes for negotiations to not have the war, and the lead up to why I call Revel a jackass. He gets Revel released with the idea that I'll let you go back to your people, then we can have a talk about ending the war. And then Revel breaks that, going back and saying, "Never trust Xeon. They're gonna fight till the end. And Xeon can't fight." Blah, 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 blah. And that's when Degwin is like, "Fuck it, let's fight." This fucking asshole. If Rebel had gone back with a message of "let's negotiate," the war would have been over.
Well, it would have been over if he, what's his name, Degwin, not Derek, Degwin, would have actually controlled Giran.
He was still alive, and he wasn't in a position to get killed by the solar ray. Arguably, he wouldn't have been in that position for like a year. So this would have been the time to like essentially cut Giran's legs out from under him before he becomes like the supreme commander of everything. Degwin's still around, a lot of people around to listen to him, sitting in his command chair. Literally, Giran has to come sniveling up to him with like papers for him to sign. Would have been the perfect time. Revel, you know how oddly I'm always on Zeon's side here. Not Zeon the person, Zeon the people. Again, I think Zeon would have been in a much better position had they not fought the 1 Year War. And Revel is the one that fucked that up. The warmonger that is Revel, because he is. He goes on a whole news thing, broadcast to everybody, arguing about we have to fight Zeon. He's a warmonger. He's a jackass. I would put him side by side with Giran. He's not racist and like trying to kill well, technically he's kind of trying to kill all the Zeon people. So, but he is half the reason the war goes on. He's a jackass. He is the cause of so many deaths in the UC timeline.
Yeah.
And then, he tries to march his people into a nuke. Not great.
Well, he was calling someone else's bluff, so.
It wasn't a bluff. He launched the nuke. Had the Gundam not been there, everyone would be dead, including the jackass himself.
And my last note for this episode, not my last note for this, but for this episode, speedrunning Genius Descent to Madness works well here. And I say that because over at Seed Destiny, we had a lot of criticisms about a certain character who apparently decided, oh, I'm being smart, I'm going to do this carefully, and then, oh, let's just start blasting people for no reason whatsoever. And here's like, we had a character that we know has been decaying in the short time that we've seen, and it was an extremist, right?
Sorry, that's why I was hesitating for a minute. Well, one, I didn't want to interrupt you, because I always do anyway, but the element that there is a medical side to this that is difficult to parse in the same way. Like, Durandal goes crazy out of nowhere, but I guess technically there might be a psychological aspect to that one, because he might be a psychopath. Not expressed by the show directly, read into it by me, at least, when he's like looking around trying to get an opinion. But the fact that Genius gets crazier the more off his meds he is makes it a completely different concern that I'm a bit hesitant to come down on him about. At the same time, you said speedrun, and it's like, yeah, maybe. 8th MS team kind of takes place over like a week, so I don't know.
Not a lot of time either.
Well, yeah, it's the fact that it is a week of speedrun, maybe, especially if you're comparing it to a year-long war. Definitely, it's really fast in a year-long war, but at the same time, imagine that you're Genius, and you're just not taking your meds after
and dying, apparently.
Yeah, because he's bleeding. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's bleeding from the mouth because that's whatever illness he takes the meds for, or if he's going so fucking crazy, like in the Abyss.
He bit his lip.
Yeah, in the Abyss when they have carbon dioxide poison. What is it called? The bends. When they have the bends and he's like cutting himself, just trying to stay sane, or as sane as he fucking possibly can be called in that situation. That Genius isn't just like biting the inside of his mouth, trying to use the pain to stay focused.
We don't know.
I would argue that probably the amount of blood that's pouring out of him, that has to be a mouth wound. Because if he's bleeding that much from the internals, that implies a lot of internal bleeding. Like, have you seen anybody who's ever died of an ulcer? Like, that bursts, and you've got like what, half hour to seek medical attention?
So start vomiting like coffee beans, coffee grounds, blood. Yeah, you have to go to the hospital.
Ironically, a side effect of the chemo meds that they told me about.
It's like, then your note comes next.
Yeah. I think Bjorn's attack on the 8th is the most effective we've ever seen a Magella be in the entire Universal Century so far. Granted, MS Igloo is just going to rip off this idea in 12 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, MS Igloo 2. The worst of the MS Igloo. Literally the ogre. I don't know, was he called the ogre? The white ogre, I think it was called. Literally, it's the same thing. The white ogre comes in, they're a tank unit that's hidden amongst a bunch of wreckage. It's literally ripping this off. And I did the math. This came out like 96. MS Igloo 2 comes out 12 years later. It's just a one episode ripoff of this episode. And this episode did it better.
Yeah.
Also, I just don't like MS Igloo 2. I think I've expressed that. The MS Igloo 2 is my Macross Plus of Gundam. Which isn't to say it's bad. People might like MS Igloo 2. I would just say those people are...
Okay. I do have an episode title for this one. Episode 10, The Shuddering Mountain, Part 1. This whole episode exists to show how much of a badass Norris Packard really is. Made that much more compelling and tragic by the outcome.
I'm going to skip ahead 3 notes to respond with my Norris note. Thinking back, Norris really only had one amazing battle. He encountered fights earlier in the show, but nothing really to write home about. Those last 2 episodes really showed off his skill, though. Really goes to show what the right asset in the right location can do. Just imagine if Norris had been stationed anywhere else, how differently things might have turned out.
No next.
Man, fuck Guineas for killing Yuri. I was going to type out this whole tirade about how Yuri was a good Zeon officer and deserved better, etc., 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 but I'm hesitant to actually take a side here. Yuri wasn't so much a good Zeon officer as just a good officer. That's the kind of guy you want to serve under, but despite how he goes crazy and is working his men to death, Guineas isn't alone in this way of thinking. The doctor's speech before expressed that Zeon attitude towards the war not being over until everything is done. In that respect, Guineas is also a good Zeon officer. He's going to finish the mission, get the weapon deployed, and turn things around for the homeland. If you look past the insanity induced by a lack of medication and attribute everything to that nationalism that the doctor is projecting, then he embodies completely other traits to be admired. Except, obviously, after poisoning everyone, he declares that the Absolus will be his alone, implying that he's acting for personal power, and just killed the doctor, who seemed to have shared that nationalistic pride with him, completely ruining any redeeming factor he may have had.
Also, basically eliminating the way to reproduce the Absolus if the war continues. Because he could win, he could stop the war, but there's no guarantee that would reverse the fortunes of war, but then the Federation can continue fighting, and weapons like the Absolus would be needed, not just the one, no matter how powerful it is, to guarantee a defeat of the Federation. I know that we're watching a series where one battle to just means that either one or the other wins, and the other one will have to lose. But
well, no, I mean, you can take the Battle of Odessa to be the Zeon defeat on the entirety of the Earth. I mean, obviously that's led into by I can't remember the name of the pushback across Europe, the Zeon Annoyance Campaign or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a bunch of shit that leads into it, but if you want to be like big man history, then there are certain specific events that cause everything else to domino their way down. And I'm saying that what you were saying, that not just one battle thing. If you look at Odessa could be the whole turning point if you want it to be. I'm just saying that from a perspective that is shared amongst the Zeon crew here, episode 10 showing the doctor, and essentially it seems like all of the troops also agreeing that we have to do what we have to do, that this nationalistic pride makes Guineas an admirable Zeon officer in different ways to Yuri. As I said, Yuri is a good officer. Maybe not a good Zeon officer, but just a good officer in general. He cares about his men, whatnot. That is very specifically not itself Zeon coded. The nationalistic pride, obviously, because we're coding Zeon as some historical group of people from real Earth history. And that faith in the nation, the do everything possible to even kill yourself to make sure that it happens, that is, I think, what makes a good Zeon officer. Now, good being very typed to the people, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you were a good demon, you have to, like, fucking torture people to death and stuff, right? Doesn't make you good, but it makes you a good demon, right? So,
You're good at what you do. Yeah.
right, yeah. So, obviously, I indicated this earlier when we were talking about note stuff, that my notes take that little twist there at the end once he starts poisoning people. You know, he does the Ozymandias from Watchmen, like, poisons
Yeah.
his scientists and then destroys the evidence. I guess if he had a cat, he blew up the cat too. But
Yeah.
at which point, the fact he explicitly says that the Absolus will be mine, very much
Yeah.
separating him from any nationalistic pride.
And the grenade at the end was like, not only you're poisoned, I also dropped a grenade just to make sure you're dead. A grenade that seemed to be extremely powerful, although that whole place was filled with alcohol, that's what
Well, I
exploded.
assume it was going towards what you just said. There'd be no way to recreate the Absolus, because
Yeah.
to Ina's point later, he's a brilliant engineer. So probably has everything up here. Because, you know, even when they snipe the Absolus later, he says, oh, if I only had time to make repairs. So clearly
Yeah.
he knows what to do with this thing. That the only thing on the computers would be all of the records that they've kept on the construction.
Yeah. But also goes to the point of sharing information, because you can take this team and take different. No, you learned this making the Absolus. How about you go to this other thing and help them out with that problem, an energy problem or a range problem or targeting problem? And then, or make the team to make another weapon system. Not even has to be replicating the Absolus. It could be something like an Absolus 2 or something. Okay, this is big. This is good, but can you make it smaller so we can make more of them, or make it even larger, or add weapon systems? All killing the people who know how to make stuff. It's a bad idea.
I mean,
Especially in
I would though
wartime.
argue that to the point of, would the Absolus win the war? Maybe. Literally, the whole Federation conceit is this thing could move fast enough to that our ships wouldn't be able to stop it. It could get it.
Yeah.
It's essentially a reusable nuke that moves supersonic. Like, we can't stop the thing. It can destroy everything we've got. You figure that thing is zooming around the planet, constantly just hitting every military target available?
Yeah.
Unless the Gundam shows up, because it's got the plot armor of Amuro, who's going to stop it? And to be fair, as I said in my what's happening literally right now across the world, Slegger is joining White Base, and then White Base is getting launched into space as a decoy for the rest of the fleet operation that to go attack Solomon. They wouldn't be on Earth to stop the Absolus. No main character, except for Shiro, which thank God he was there, I guess, would be on the planet to stop the Absolus.
I mean, but still, I have a note about that because, yeah, they actually do have weapons that can hurt the Absolute, at least in.
I'm not saying hurt the Absolus, I'm saying stop the Absolus. The fact that it moves so fast, it can get anywhere you're not prepared for it to be, and then it has a mega nuke as a weapon, essentially.
Yeah. Where was I? It seems Elidor and Michelle switched places. Michelle became the focused soldier that got things done, while Elidor was easily distracted by minutia. Now I know that's just a momentary thing where Elidor's going like, "Oh, look at look, they changed the mountain," and Michelle's like, "Hey, I'm working here. Could you just get him back and do the thing?" I know later on Elidor focuses, but there's a moment where Michelle is like, he's concentrating and doing the work, blah, 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 and, being very concentrated.
I'm
And
not
Elidor's
remembering
like,
this right.
oh. Elidor's like,
I remember
hey.
Elidor looking out and then saying, oh, they reshaped the mountain, and then Michelle calls him back. And then for the rest of the episode, Elidor is also really focused.
Yeah, but remember that Michelle was the one that was scattered brain and the not focused and all that. He now is focused. That moment, Elidor.
I mean, I would also argue that, remember, Elidor was spent a lot of time in a field hospital. So
yeah,
he's had a lot of time not on the front line to not be focused.
Yeah.
Strange difference between the sub and the dub. In the dub, Norris says, "On, Gouf, awaken!" And his mobile suit starts moving alongside him, seemingly on its own. It made me think back to G-Quix, which, to date this recording, is something we are currently 3 episodes into, where the Gundam computer was copied for future mobile suits. Anyway, in the sub, he shouts, "Niver!" which isn't some fancy command he shouts at his mobile suit. It's the name of that blonde mechanic that was doing repairs and reloading his weapons. Assumedly, in the sub, he's in the cockpit responding to Norris's command. So again, in English, he says, "On, Gouf, awaken."
Yeah.
That, again, if he says that, and of course, if you're reading the English subtitles, he says Niver. And I googled Niver. I'm like, what the fuck does Niver mean? And the first thing that shows up is literally a Wikipedia article about Niver, who is, thank God I paused, literally the blonde kid he was just talking to on the hand of the Gouf. And it's like, oh, well, that's his name. I didn't know he had a name. On, Gouf, awaken. I don't know how the hell they pulled that.
I think they were going for cool points and kind of ruined the scene.
Well, it adds something that has no context to be added. Like, Amuro never shouted, "On, Gundam, awaken!"
Yeah.
Although that would be a cool Roger Smith moment for Gundam.
Yeah.
It's showtime! And then the Gundam comes running from across the field on its own. And then Amuro, super jumps into the air and just, leans back into the cockpit like, you said you watched Adventure Brothers before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene where Brock Sampson's, doing Tai Chi in the middle of the road and does this, and then the car comes and he just jumps and lands into the front seat with his arm in front of the person in the passenger seat, and his hand is just on the wheel. It's not Tai Chi. He was just really ready to get hit by a car.
Yeah. It makes sense to use the gun tanks as mobile artillery. It also makes even more sense to use a shoot and scoot technique as well. Didn't work for them, but it was something that
the context of the scene I don't think makes a lot of sense. He is taking out the gun tanks because they're a threat to the Kurgan launching. But first thing he does in the fight is point out that they've got beam weapons, and that the beam weapons would be a big threat to the Kurgan launching. So in conceit to that, it seems like the beam weapon equipped people would be a bigger threat.
But we're not talking about Norris. This happens before Norris engages them. Lily Michelle says, "Okay, fire 10 rounds and then we move." That's what's called a scoot and shoot. So they're firing.
No, Elidor says that.
Elidor.
That's what I was saying before to your other comment about Elidor and Michelle switching places. Everything you were saying about Michelle doing it, I remember Elidor saying. So
I think it was Michelle.
No,
anyway,
specifically the thing you're talking about is them firing on the doors to the Xeon facility, because that's also what Norris says, "Oh, a direct hit, they've got pretty good aim." But no, I'm talking about specifically later on, as you're pointing out, that what I am talking about is the later on bit, where it stops making a bit of sense. It feels like to me he should really be focusing on the laser weapon, the beam weaponry. Because he even points out that it's a threat, and it's like, yeah, it's also probably a lot easier to hit the moving Kurgan with the beam weapon than the artillery.
Yeah.
Famously, you don't typically use artillery to shoot down an aircraft.
I mean, you could just zero in on the launch platform, and you see where it's going to launch it. Just saturate the area with shots, and it has to go through there. So, yeah, it's...
yeah, but again, the fact that it's basically like a Jaburo launch platform.
Or it would help them get into the base if they blast one of these doors with artillery, and then they would go in.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
As I've said, I'm pointing out after the fact. I think only because you mentioned Norris. That or I'm staring at my next note, which starts with the word Norris. So it's been throwing me off. Norris mentions that Aina is the very image of her father. I feel like I've missed something in the backstory or something, or it's just not meant to mean anything. Because, later on, Aina has the whole thing about, "Oh, you're why our mother left us," or "That's the reason why our mother left us. Did you build this whole iron womb because of that?" And it's like, I'm hearing a lot about your parents for the first time.
Yeah, that's not... I don't think there's anything more to it, basically.
That's what I said. It's just not meant to mean anything.
Unless we, in this 12th episode, see something about that, which I doubt. But
yeah, I assume this is going to be wrap-up, like Kojima... talking about the team or a court-martial or something. Because remember, Miller's report takes place before all of this. Miller's report was between episodes, too.
Or Kojima's doing a report and says at the end, Ensign Amada Chinamada KIA, right? He's dead.
I think it's probably going to be something like, I've been working on a time machine and have a really good concept for a video game.
Yeah. Bye 017. Oh, and Ryder is a even bigger a-hole here.
I think this is the first time our things actually line up. Because my next note, something I didn't realize was that when the tunnel exploded in episode 10, the Sally we heard getting warned was the 7th MS Team Sally, the one we saw with Rob multiple times before, meaning that the 7th MS Team all got killed. Kojima even calls them out as soldiers that they've lost in regards to Eason's ordering of Shiro's execution. Also, where I got Toothless Guy's name, who gets into the fight with, starts with an S. Sanders, yeah. Terry Sanders. That Toothless guy. His name was Mike. He said Sally, Rob, and Mike. And it's like, who the fuck is Mike? And it's like, oh, it must be the other
I think
seven.
it was Ross. Was it Rob or is it Ross?
No, it's Rob.
It
it's literally Rob, because I have the board still open.
Yeah.
Also, I had Rob's name before. I had Rob and Sally. I didn't have Mike, and there's only 3 members of the 7th team, so it's like, oh, who the hell's Mike? Must be that Toothless guy. I say Toothless, There's that weird anime thing where some scenes, if you want them to look like downtrodden, you don't give them all their teeth, but then in other scenes, they just have all their teeth. What are you, out of notes?
No. I thought you were responding to my
notes. Right.
So.
I forgot.
Yeah.
So going into episode 12, as we are, interesting tidbit. Only the first 11 episodes aired on Toonami. The final episode was never aired on the block. In addition, some scenes from the movie Miller's Report were edited into episode 8, Duty and Ideals, specifically for Toonami.
Yeah, we talk about that. That one reason why I felt like there were more episodes was because they.
Well, we talked about the fact we'd never seen episode 12 before.
Yeah.
Assuming because we both would have watched it on Toonami.
We didn't see Miller's Report, but then I said I did. It's like, oh, well, if you did, when was it? And it's like, oh, it was about the court martial. And we said, no, it couldn't be the court martial. That happens later. And blah, blah, blah. Then we had the discussion about that.
Well, I mean, if you're saying you watched it because you saw it on Toonami, then.
Parts of Miller's Report were there, not the entirety.
Well, it wouldn't be anything. Again, Miller's Report is a movie. I assume you couldn't edit that much into episode 8 for a Miller's Report because episode 8 is like 24 minutes long. Not an hour. So it would be
but they did somehow.
Well, they edited. It says they edited some scenes, right? Again, the idea of Miller's Report is a movie-length thing. Some scenes is not going to be anywhere close to what Miller's Report assumedly would be, unless Miller's Report is so much filler that a couple of scenes was all you needed.
It seems that they make Karen the weak link here. I don't like it. She's not entirely useless, but still. In other words, they made her be the butt monkey in these episodes.
Oh, she's useless in the back half.
Yeah. Once Elidor decides that, oh yeah, I like Elidor, becomes kind of useless.
I like Karen, you mean?
Yeah.
No, she is useless in the back. No.
Yeah.
I said once you said Elidor decides I like Elidor, I was like, you mean Karen? I know. I mean, I agree. I didn't put it in a note, but she becomes useless in the back half. All she does is get hit, like to the point where battle in 3 dimensions. She gets taken out immediately,
and it doesn't even say a word. Yeah.
Must be weird for Elidor to be listening in on the radio when Karen goes, "Every man is the same. They always leave me in the end," as Shiro is leaving. Considering he's essentially laid out what he has plans to be with her once the war is over, and nearly got himself killed an episode ago trying to help her. I really wish they had spent just a little more time on Karen's predicament, though. The implication that the threat to execute the entire squad if Shiro deserted being on the table, that's a lot to deal with, and that really just gets a passing acknowledgement before we move on.
Yeah. Again, while and I guess we said this about the entire series, and I'll probably speak more about this later on if I remember. While this series is very economical with everything it does and effective in many ways, it sometimes misses the mark. Like I said, the Xeon side could have used a little explanation, like, "Oh, where are these parents coming from?" "Oh yeah, our parents, which were
Where are
horrible
these
parents."
parents coming from is a crazy thing to say.
Yeah,
Although, to be fair,
they
that's a
did make
question I feel like was asked a lot in 79. Where are these parents coming from?
yeah, yeah,
Well, no, I mean, I understand it from one aspect. Devil's advocate, maybe she wouldn't just talk about it. Maybe there wouldn't be a conversation. I think maybe it would be are they just needing to buy time? They're having an internal drama moment where they're fighting with
yeah,
one another about this whole "why didn't you tell us?" Well, there's this thing. So maybe the realistic thing is that she just never would say anything. But it feels like you're just leaving it on the table. Like, here's a massive drama bomb. Not going to talk about it. You, the audience, are going to know about it. We're just going to put it over here.
yeah. Something you should take a note of. I was like, okay, thanks, appreciate that. That was your no, that
Yeah.
was my team.
No,
Yeah,
that was my thing about Elidor. The awkwardness of
no,
Elidor hearing that all men leave her. Sorry, all men leave Karen via Karen saying that when he is literally the radio guy.
yeah. I gotta say that was a badass exit. Having your MS walk beside you like that. Kudos to the animators. I'm talking about that scene with
Yeah, where he shouts, "On, Goof, awaken!"
yeah.
If you're listening in English.
That actually doesn't make it that badass. I think they were going for badassery, but it just having shouting the name of the guy is like, hey, turn it on. We're leaving, right?
I mean, literally, it's, again, Niver is essentially, I assume, in the cockpit, just
Yeah.
walking it. So it's just like, I don't know, it's that badass either. It would have, I think,
No,
more
because
badass if he had pulled one of those grappling hook things and just like, what Ramba uses in the
yeah,
escape during the fight back in 79. If he like was walking with it and just like fires up and he gets into the cockpit like that, that would have been badass. Dude just walking next to a goof. We've seen tons of people walking next to Gundams.
yeah, but the way this was shot and animated, it looks pretty cool because the wind is blowing and he's
The
like,
dude's almost
walking.
bald. Literally a waste of effort to make the wind blow. I'm just saying,
I
like,
mean,
we've seen literally in the main encampment for the 8th MS team, people just walking next to mobile suits. I'm not saying it's not cool. Literally, it was a note that I had during Witch from Mercury, was how I liked how when the mobile suits walked in Witch from Mercury, they felt real, like they had weight, they move realistically, and then seeing the students walk past them in their normal everyday made it look even cooler. So I'm not saying I don't understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that in this show specifically, they've done that shot a number of times. Like, they've made it commonplace by now, so having Norris do it at the end kind of diminishes the coolness of Norris, even though he is himself. Norris brings the coolness to that scene.
Yeah.
One of the GMs that gets destroyed when Genius betrays the truce was holding a flail. I was surprised when the flail came back in G-Quicks because I really only remembered it from the one episode in 79. But here it was again. They really want to sell that toy, I guess.
I mean, if you have kung fu grip action, you need something to grip. So,
Oh yeah, that's why in episode 15 they came out with Mobile Suit Martial Arts. Now with kung fu action.
yeah. My next, and this is just looking at that screen where things light up. It's like the Xeon War Machine powered by Acer, Cyrix, and AMD. I guess Intel was Fetty all the way.
Ironically, I did not write the note. I did the research. I didn't write the note because I remember us talking about DirectX SDK, and I was looking it up, and it was like something we're saying it was DirectX SDK came out in 2010, which is wrong, by the way. That's why I erased the note after that, because this comes out in 1996. The English translation comes out some early 2000s, and it's like, did they just know DirectX was coming out? It's like, no. DirectX SDK came out like 95, 1 year before this came out. So
yeah, so basically they're running their suits in basically Windows, I guess, or not Windows. It could be OS2 Warp.
Again,
Yeah, I
this
think
is
it's
like
always
when I brought
31.
up the fact that in the background of 86, everything was readable and everything usually had something to do with the show, what's going on in the show,
Yeah.
except for that one Photoshop advertisement. It was like, well, this is weird. This is how the brain scan system works on Adobe Photoshop. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, weird.
I'm thinking that Xeon runs on IBM OS Warp, and the Fetties run on Intel and Windows, basically, or maybe Mac.
No comment. This would be a conversation we get up with Griffin, not me. I know nothing about this stuff. Eason is just that much more villainous. Even Yazik, when shooting down a civilian transport in Seed, thinks it's full of soldiers cowardly running from battle. Eason calls it a med evac ship. He knows full well what he's doing. Honestly, if I was Aina, first thing, toss Guineas out so he can fall to his death. Second thing, destroy that Federation Big Tray Command Center. Then, I don't know, trip to Jaburo. This series would not be ending the same way for me. Typically, something always happens on screen that pisses me off, where I just advocate for killing everybody.
Episode 10, final note for that is when your bad boss doesn't drink while you do, you know you're screwed. They're all raising their glasses, they're all drinking, and
You're talking about Guineas.
oh yeah.
Sorry, my head was still thinking about Ison. It's like, I don't think anyone drank when Ison and Kojima were together.
No, he's like, oh yes, have a drink, everyone. Sure.
I mean, that's
Enjoy
that's literally just RPG rules when you're all having a drink.
Yeah.
That's why when I was playing, I don't think you were in that game. Wait, you were in that game, weren't you? My problem is that the character I would bring up the name for, you ran a campaign that he was in, but I played him a lot. Anyway, I wouldn't eat. Every time we went to a party, I just wouldn't fucking eat because obviously that's trick number one. One, I also would not go anywhere where they wouldn't let me carry my weapons. So, like, you can't carry your weapons in town. Hey guys, I'm camping outside for the rest of this part. You need a fight? Call me. I'll be outside. I can literally kill every guard on my way in. I'm not going to start a fight here, though. No point in negotiating. I've got no mental or social skills. I'm all combat. I will be outside. Ping me when the adventure needs a fight. I didn't notice until episode 11, but Karen's Gundam has a GM head on it from after she got her head knocked off last episode. It's a nice touch and attention to detail.
I mean, they literally call her GM head, and she's like, stop calling me that.
Yeah, I didn't have context for it. Again, I just said I didn't notice. Like, literally, it's like, that's a weird insult. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, she got a GM head.
Yeah. And Amala is not only on a Gundam, he's in a different Gundam called the EC-8 as well.
Well, that's Shiro's. But I'm sitting here when they're firing the nuke or the beam weapon thing for the first time.
Yeah.
And God, I just looked up his name. What the fuck is this? Terry and Karen are like defending the little APC or whatever it's called. Yeah, the truck, and like they're head to head with each other. And I'm like, why does he have a Gundam head? She doesn't. Like, that's literally where it occurred to me. Like, that's a GM head. Oh, they gave her a GM head when her head got knocked off. Never occurred to me back when they were saying GM head. What the fuck? I just didn't think about it. It's like, that's a weird insult. Moved on.
Yeah. Now to my few notes under episode 11, the Shuddering Mountain Part 2. A lot of things happen in that episode, but there's a lot of action too. So that's why I didn't take as many notes on, I was working on the drama though.
I think I only got 4 and a couple of them are like one line.
So Genius' motivation was, I am dying and therefore I'm going to take everyone down with me.
I don't know that he had motivation, to be honest.
I mean, because he was bleeding and all that, and that it occurred to me that said, and then he falls down, and Aina comes like, put a goddamn suit, okay, we're moving,
Yeah. But I mean, when you're saying what his motivation is, I don't think it was I'm going to take everybody with me. It's weirdly, I said this before, that it seemed like he wanted personal power when he goes, the Absolus will be mine. Yeah, but I don't know. It's clearly not Xeon victory, as he says early on, because why would you kill the fucking scientist and everything? Because that's when he says the Absolus will be mine, and it's like, okay, personal power, but that's not motivation That's means to motivation. Like, that's what do you do with that power? And random rampage, I guess it doesn't feel like I'm gonna kill everybody with me. It feels like he has maybe this is the Joker thing, right? I wouldn't know what to do with a car once I caught it. I'm like a dog chasing a car, whatever that thing he says is.
Yeah.
That maybe this is it. Maybe his whole life's goal was I'm gonna build my dream thing, and I fucking built it. Damn it, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
As always, I love when Aina and Shiro aren't on the same page. Like back when Shiro was giving his speech about how the killing never stops and they've got to find a way past it, and Aina self-destructs the Obsolete, killing a bunch of Federation pilots. This time we have Aina wanting to surrender and talking about how revenge doesn't do anyone any good, especially the dead. Then Shiro, thinking Aina was dead, vowing to get revenge on Genius for it. The exact opposite of what Aina was just saying. I guess it's the disparate thoughts coming together that makes this show great. It's just always hilarious to me, though, when there are two people and you think they're going to be like aligned on their beliefs because, we're coming together, we're Romeo and Juliet, but instead of the warring families, it's literally warring countries. But every time one of them says, killing people isn't the way, the other one is all about killing somebody. In the moment, they're always on opposite. Yeah. But in this time, it was very direct. Like, I know last time, he was literally in the middle of giving the speech when she blew up. But this one is literally, she goes from giving the speech of, getting revenge wouldn't bring them back to life. There's no point in getting revenge, especially for the dead. Bam! Shot. Lands. Picks her up. I will get revenge for you, Aina, who I think is dead. It's like, couldn't be more on the nose.
I mean, he wasn't listening on the radio when she said that, so,
I mean, to be fair, everyone hears everything everywhere, it seems, most of the time. But, again, it's just so on the nose that they're always not getting it, what everyone is saying, which I guess makes them better together, right? So...
my second note of this episode. Can't shoot the cockpit of the enemy? I guess I'll just commit a war crime then. Ryer taking the gold for asshole of the series. Although Genius got the silver by a hair.
I would argue Genius is worse. Genius is, again, to our previous discussion of what is his motivation, what's his goal, doesn't feel like it has any. Whereas at least Isun we know what his motivation is, and it's not like a bad motivation. Like, he's not like, okay, I'm going to do all this, and then I'm going to steal all the Xeon wealth and run away or something. He's like, no, I'm going to fucking win the day, and then we're going to go on to win this war. I understand what Easton's doing. He's just a dick. A fucking dick. So...
No, but for example, in this situation, it's like, oh, the GM is in a place. Oh, can you still shoot? Yes, we can shoot. Shoot the transport. It's like, if you really... Because there's some stuff he does later on that actually screws him over to win the war. So,
I mean, I would argue... Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to read another one of my comments that I think ties into this to point out that maybe he's not even the worst person on the field. I'm making an argument here that the sniper is the worst person on the field.
I mean, he shouldn't have followed those orders.
Whoever mystery sniper is, they really do him a disservice. Dude just follows every order, regardless of situation or context. Shoot the super weapon down. Okay. Shoot the medevac ship. Okay. Shoot the Federation Gundam clearly on a path to attack the Xeon super weapon. Okay. And then he gets shot in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Well, dude is a jackass. Like, maybe we needed a machine because the machine just didn't follow his orders.
Yeah. I just jump into my third comment. Yes, the revenge won't bring those soldiers back, but you could take down the guy who is willing to commit casual war crimes just so that his boss doesn't laugh at him. Yes, I know that she didn't know that part about him saying, oh, Rebel was going to laugh at me. But still...
Oh, I thought you were talking about Genius at first until you clarified. Well, the boss laughing at him, obviously, Eason, but the guy committing casual war crimes is clearly Genius if you don't push that other one.
Yeah.
I was about to say it's a point
shoot
break.
Him and then shoot the other guy.
It's a point break situation. I care about him too much. Shoots into the air.
Yeah. It's like, toss your brother to the ground. If he survives, good for him. Shoot the other guy, then set this thing on self-destruct and get the
Well, I
fuck
mean,
out.
that's what I said.
Word.
First thing, toss
Yeah.
Genius out and let him fall to his death.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Man, how topical. The guy in charge wants to execute a guy on his say-so, while someone else fights to have him court-martialed. A real due process debate, I guess.
well, I guess my note goes to that. Kojima being the reasonable one for the win, I guess. You know, I mean, it makes sense that he wants to court-martial him because he broke the rules, but he doesn't want to murder. At least, I mean, he could still get an execution order and still
Yeah, I
die.
mean, to be fair, it's not an incorrect order. It's the fact that Eason wants to kill the entire team and is, like, being duplicitous about this.
Yeah.
To his credit, Shiro is deserting in the face of the enemy. And technically stealing Federation property in the process of doing it. Every argument I said about Amuro deserting Shiro. I think I even said back when
but
Amuro...
what does Kojima does? Kojima wants to arrest them, not murder him. In the middle of a battle, no less, with a super weapon that just destroyed 2/3 of a mountain.
I'm obviously not siding with Isan, so you don't need to take the tone with me. I'm just saying that I've brought this up before.
Yeah.
Not way long ago, but when Amuro did it. I guess to a lesser extent when Kai did it too, but again, we just stopped caring at some point. Which is weird, I think, because that happens before this in the timeline. Yeah. So literally somebody deserting with a Gundam has already happened.
Not only with a Gundam, with the Gundam.
I still don't, they haven't really explained where these come from. They didn't discuss it. Obviously, why would they? Because, as you pointed out, we're being, really, really short to keep the material directed.
Yeah.
Where did these fucking Gundams come from? Why weren't they anywhere else?
I seen some extra explanations for this, but they're extra from the show, so I'm not gonna give them.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
This is one of those rare cases where it's acceptable because we're trying to really keep focus on what the show is about rather than explain stuff. It's just, I hope there's some other show somewhere down the line where they go into this because...
Yeah. And also people want to see the Gundam 8th MST, not the general model 8th MST.
I'd be fine with it. I don't care. This show is more about the characters.
You would have no problem with that, but I think if you're selling the series to people who are like Gundam, they want to see Gundams, right?
To be fair, this is just all the people who like Gundam, which would be the Gundam.
Yeah.
And if we're just naming anything Gundam, then we can literally call GMs Gundam models, and boom, they're all Gundams. Yeah. It's just the fact that these are Gundams, and it's I think it would have worked better actually if what you said was true, that they just were general models. That this is, it's literally a mobile suit team. It's not a Gundam team.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we introduced in 79 general models, and then we put them into all these fights, and it's kind of cool to see what the general model pilots are like and what they have to go through. And I don't know, maybe it'd be cooler to see them on par with the Zaku, having to fight fights where generally you don't typically win.
I think against Saku 1s and Saku 2s they'll do fine, but against goufs and other stuff like that...
You say they do fine. I'm saying they would be on equal footing. The only thing keeping them going is the fact that they got plot armor because they got main characters in them.
I think this is your note or my note?
I think it's my note, isn't it? Not long afterward, the war finally ended. Reminder, this is December 7th. In 79, we've just met a new character that hasn't even had a chance to die yet. 2 major battles and a number of massive betrayals are still to come. I suppose in the scheme of a year, a little over 3 weeks isn't that long, but narratively, it's an eternity.
Also, I think it's a point of view that their war in this situation is ended, right? This is the final battle for them.
No, I mean, in context, he says not long afterward, the war finally ended. It very much feels like he is putting into the context of the 1-year war.
Yeah.
Because technically, if you were getting what he's saying right now, it's that's when our war ended. Like, it happens immediately when that's being said.
And Ryder's stupidity ended up costing him his life. Had he had not ordered the sniper to take on Shiro EC8, he could have destroyed the Absolus.
It's whatever's important to you in the moment.
Yeah, his priorities were fucked up. It's like, oh, I want to capture this, dude. Don't take the chance.
If he
They
actually
destroyed the mountain.
believes that Shiro is defecting, like on the side of Zeon, then he has to believe that he's rushing out there to protect the Obsolus. Like, if you believe everything on the face of it, right, that he's not just being a dick for dick's sake, then you don't want the EZ8 rushing out to defend the Obsolus against any other thing that might happen. The Obsolus appears to be down. It's not moving. You think you may have taken it down. Then the EZ8 comes rushing in. Maybe he's trying to go try and repair it. Or, boost its power systems, whatever EZ8 has. Like the way that they saw him do before.
Running with his saber out, trying to stab it.
Yeah, no. He's just running with the saber out like this. It is a battlefield. And again, taking things as they appear, if you think he's running out to defend the Obsolus, then he's just saber out because you're in the battlefield.
Yeah, but he's running to the Absolute, not between the Absolute and someone else. He's not running to the sniper.
To be fair, literally the whole place is a battlefield. Everywhere is between the Absolute and everything else. It's like the one time I remember Harmon Quest, where the joke is the rogue is trying to run up on these two guys. Are they in alignment with each other? Well, any 2 points is aligned. So technically, if he runs up to the Obsolus, he's between it and an enemy because everything else is an enemy.
But yeah, technically not his. Never mind. I think it still was dumb because he had allowed Chin to do that. He would have destroyed the Absolus, and then he could have taken the leg of the.
Again, the idea is that he shot the Absolute, or he ordered the shot on the Absolus already, and it's down and not moving. So you might already believe the Absolus is down, because otherwise you're shooting a dead horse while you're being charged at by a barbarian. Like, I'm gonna shoot the down thing again. Sure, this guy's running at you with an axe. Yeah, I'm not sure the down thing is dead.
Yeah, but he wasn't running at the sniper with a sword. So
well, he is running forwards, and conceivably the sniper shot him in the chest area, meaning that he is in front of him. Again, this is the element of the joke that I literally just made. Any 2 points is a line. He's running forwards. The guy shot him in the chest, which means he was running in the direction that the shot came from, meaning he was running in the direction of the sniper. He might not have been running to the sniper. It might be entirely coincidental that that's where the sniper was. But the fact is the sniper shot him in the chest and he was running forwards, implying it was a frontal shot that came from the sniper's direction.
Well, actually, he shot him in the arm, so...
I said chest, but arguably it's in the same spot because it melts into halfway the cockpit.
Yeah. Well, also the fact that... Well, that's a discussion like every line is a curve, but not every curve. So...
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there. I'm assuming you said every line is a curve, but every curve is not a line.
Yes.
I would argue that every curve is a line.
Because it's not.
You're saying every line is a curve, and not every curve is a line, implying that every line is required to draw the curve, right?
No.
Or are you going with like the Earth thing? What's the shortest point between 2 points? And it's actually a curve line.
No. Literally, mathematics. Every line is considered to be a curve, but not all curves are lines because they're not direct point to point. You have intermediate points between.
Well, not always. Literally, if you only have 2 points, then any line drawn between them, no matter how round you make it, is also still a curve and a line.
No, because...
Here's the problem, is that you're saying mathematically, and I'm saying, okay, put this on a piece of paper. Okay, 2 points, line, line, line. It's all a line. These curves are all lines. You have to create a situation like, okay, I'm going to add a third point and then connect these things all together. Okay, sure. But it all breaks down if you're trying to create a little short snippet. That is always true. You have to make the snippet as simple as possible. And when you start trying to add to it, like, oh no, I meant mathematically, and it's like, okay, so you're making it really difficult to understand by trying to add extra stuff to it.
Unless they changed the math in me in the last...
Well, again, I don't even think you're describing.
However long.
You haven't described any math either. So,
Yeah.
like, we're not even
And I wouldn't.
in geometry
I
either.
I wouldn't try.
Yeah, well, I don't think they would. Like, unless we pull up like a whiteboard and you want to go all professor lessons, I don't think this is going to work out as a description. Like, imagine the people in podcast zone who are only listening to this audibly are trying to figure out what the fuck we're talking about. Well,
Well,
my
that
last
was.
note. It seems very clearly implied that Aina and Shiro hid out in the ruins of the Zeon base. We see the metal cross that they put down near their campsite, and then how rusty and falling apart it is by the time Federation soldiers found it. One thing, how long did it take for them to search the Zeon base that was the focus of their operation this entire time? Also, given how it looks like it's falling apart, the cross, how long would that take? That looked like it was meant to imply years of falling apart, again, given how rust-covered it is. So by the time they climb into the Zeon ruins, the war's been over for a long time.
I don't know about that. I think the reason it's falling apart, I think, because it was hastily built. I
It
mean, they're
is
using,
it is a perfectly new looking it looks like an iron girder. Like, the problem
yeah.
is it looks like a cartoon iron girder, in which case but then when we fade to when the Zeon soldiers find, not Zeon, sorry, the Federation soldiers find it, it's literally rust covered and falling apart. Like, not falling apart because it's like rust riddled. I mean that it's covered in rust and the band that they put around it is coming apart. And it takes an indeterminate amount of time for girders to rust. Like, literally, the thing told me days to years. So I'm thinking middle ground, months, or I mean, the fact it says years implies it could be in 1 year. But either way, it's a very long time, and you were just outside. Like, you were just outside. How did it take you this long to get down here?
Yeah, I don't think it's that. Yeah, I think you're reading a little too much
I'm
into
not
that.
reading. I'm not, dude. Dude, it's literally like if I gave you, trying to think of something to equate here. If I gave you a paperclip, right? And then the next time I saw you, the paperclip was brown, brittle, and falling apart. And I would be either like, dude, it's been 1 day. What the fuck is your house like? Or, hey man, it's been years since we saw each other. Which of these two things seems more likely?
I think it was. I think it was just something that was hastily built, like with, I
Dude,
don't know,
how
gauze or
hastily can you put together an iron girder for it to be covered with rust the next time we see it?
I don't think it's even because I have to look back if it's covered in rust. I don't think
It's
it
the
is.
point of my note, dude. Take it as I remember it.
Oh well, yeah.
Also, it's the last thing we saw, so it's not. And I already told you, I did my last 2 episodes yesterday. I watched this today. It's the last thing I saw of 8th MS Team.
I did. So was I. Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously it could. Well, I guess you could have like watched the last episode and then gone back and rewatched something else. But I'm just saying that it's the last thing. Like, it's also something I focused on enough that I took a note about and then researched how long it takes girders to rust. So I'm just saying the time frame here. Because also, how long does it take Shiro to go from the shock of losing his leg to healed enough to be able to even hobble his way out? Because we see hanging off of the whatever you call it, like drying post that his shirt's on, all of these blood-covered bandages. So he clearly has to heal off losing his leg, which, I don't know, you can argue that's a day too? Like, shadowy put together.
I mean, if they bandage it and he just walks, I mean, he gets access to Mina, I don't think he's fully healed, but he could probably hobble away in
It
a
has
day
to
or
have been
two.
long enough that the wound isn't going to reopen up by him walking away. Otherwise, we're going to see him covered with blood as it just like rips open from him putting pressure on it and everything. Obviously,
Well, if it's a cut off lip, I don't think how much pressure you can put in you can put in the other leg, but not this one.
any movement, any amount of movement can be pressure. That's blood pressure. Like, God, I was just watching The Pit the other day. The element of your blood pressure picking up and that causing clots to unclot because the pressure behind them is stronger than the clot itself. Like, if you're that wounded, like you lost your fucking leg, you have to seal that off, allow that to heal over.
We don't know how big the place is, so it could taken
It's the
a couple of
Xeon
days
base.
to.
I just gave you the
Yeah.
argument earlier that it was like
Yeah.
the Xeon equivalent to Jaburo.
Yeah, so it could be huge. I mean, they had an elevator underneath the nearby town, so
Again, I'm
a few
arguing months to years.
months maybe, but I don't think it's years. So
Literally, I think this is one of those interpretation arguments that we're having, where there's like literally no information one way or the other to argue to say, oh no, it couldn't have been that long. It's like, why? We never see Shiro or Aina again, as far as I know. There's no argument to say it couldn't have been years. They could have been living down there waiting for things to blow over, and now they're going to head back to the town and move in with Kiki or whatever the fuck. Like,
yeah.
There's no reason to say anything. They could have, if they didn't show us them hobbling off into the light at the end of the episode, they could have just lived the rest of their lives down there in the old Xeon base.
So those were notes. My notes. I guess we're done with notes.
Well, you never implied that was your final note. Like when
Yeah,
I said
was.
this
Well,
is my final note, it felt like you were about to say another note. So
no, my final note was on writer's stupidity.
All right. Well, we have comments. Mr. Pika Gamer from, obviously, this is going to be from YouTube, so it's going to be a long time ago, episode-wise. Char and Sayla. I think you were thinking of a guazine, Theta. It's shaped like a Zanzibar, and it's red like a Chevet. New types were originally supposed to be introduced much earlier into the series, but it got cancelled twice.
The series, not the new types.
I mean, I don't think it matters. They already tried to introduce espers, so I think them introducing espers is them introducing new types.
I mean, we talked about this extensively when we were also talking about the compilation movies. How in that movie they kind of overdid it. It was like new type, new type, new type, new type. Because I think there's something they were experimenting with. Maybe they got canceled, and it was like, okay, let's try to hurry up. But then the last episodes, they really try to push the new type stuff almost exclusively. Like they rush it. So I think it was an early idea. We're toying with it, and then when it was gonna get canceled, it's like, okay, either do it now or forever stay your piece. And then after that, in the compilation movies for people who didn't see the original series, like, yeah, we might, and because also other things are going to have forward beyond 79, they really want to make sure that people knew that, yeah, the new type thing was a thing.
All right, I'm going to read the next comment, and since it's based off of a time code, I know what they're talking about. I'm going to read the first little bit, and then you tell me if you can figure out what they're talking about.
Okay.
1988 from Char and Sayla also. Time code 11 minutes. This actually happened for both sides, although in many cases unintentionally. It has the effect of keeping you safe from lesser opponents since they tend to stay away from you, but can draw the attention of enemy aces trying to make a name for themselves, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
What, especially painting your mobile suits?
Here's the element is that I know you read comments, so I always have to suspect that maybe you know what's happening here.
I mean, I read that comment, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't go to the 11th minute.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had a conversation about, like, I made a comment of, like, painting every 9th Zaku red, so they would never know if it was Char or not, because, oh, that's red, that's Char. And it's like, we could use this. Anyway, that was the first part, and I'm going to say omitted spoilers because they reference a character we've never seen before, so did not want to read that bit. But the last part, this actually also happened in World War II, where a German ace pilot, Erich Hartmann, would let the newer pilots under him fly his marked plane to keep them safe, while giving himself more opportunities to engage enemy planes since the Allies learned to recognize his personal markings and to avoid him.
Unless you're somebody who really wants to hunt down enemy aces, in which case...
It's literally what the first part of their comment said.
Yeah.
You could draw the attention of enemy aces trying to make a name for themselves. But I'm saying that the last part literally says the real world thing.
But that's the thing, you wouldn't... it wouldn't keep you safe because if you have somebody who's hunting down for you, then and you put a less experienced pilot, then he goes down in flames.
Literally,
The
it
only thing would
says since
be
the Allies learned to recognize his personal markings and to avoid him. Again, the real world part of this you can't argue with because it happened. So, like we can say what might happen in Gundam all day based on extrapolation of what what if we did paint every ninth Zaku red? To what you're saying, it wouldn't keep you safe because they would hunt you down. But this thing was saying, no, actually, there was a guy in World War II that actually did this, and he would put them in his cockpit because it would keep them safe. And then everyone would think he's just a normal guy, and he was good to go then hunt off and kill more people because nobody was avoiding him. All right. Well, I guess that's everything. So let's see what the unaired on Toonami episode of 8th MS Team is about.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Christmas.
Also, like 2 weeks.
Literally, kids.
I was confused because they didn't start with the opening either. Oh, of course, Zeon. I mean, I obviously knew it was Zeon, but... Then Gazek shows up from Gundam Seed. Ah, not my NVIDIA processor. Going the wrong way, guys.
Yeah.
We just evacuated from there, wow. Yeah, what is this episode?
It says end, but I guess it's the end, but...
That looks like BB. Every picture of BB that we saw.
Econ Delta, maybe?
Probably 79 still.
Sounds like Mikkel, yeah.
I think it meant to imply the argument we just had is that shit rusts really quickly here.
Oh, it is the tropics.
But I just mean, look at all the ruins, like even the tanks were like covered in rust. Why didn't you go back to BB if you were discharged? Oh, because you're looking for Shiro still? I didn't feel like Michelle.
Oh, that's why.
She moved on.
Oops. Yeah.
And then I hooked up with Kiki? No, Kiki's just more concerned about finding Shiro. That's gotta be that.
Yeah. She's married with a kid, dude. Wow, with a kid, which means, yeah, that was
the start of the war.
Probably she was already married.
Well, I mean, well, it was 9 months. I'm thinking 9 months. Back close to the start of the war, so ever since you knew her. Well, maybe it could still be his kid. Maybe they hooked up before he shipped off, and then she, moved on.
Married someone else. Yeah, married someone else. Yeah.
Who didn't care.
Wow.
Yeah, can you hate a bunch of Xeon kids for just being Xeon kids?
Well, depends how the Xeon kids act. I don't want to hate them. They're kids.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, we
you
did
know.
hate the Dones Island kids from the show, not the movie. The show kids were annoying. Also trying to kill us with Molotovs.
So you're just living there. Literally, that's what I said.
Yeah, you and
I hate
Kiki are
the-
both the same character.
Yeah, I hate the fact that it
Dr.
makes sense. It's
Flanagan.
logical.
That's it, Yep. Great call.
Oh, they're new types?
But why would they... The Flanagan Institute's not on Earth, so why would they be transporting them from Earth? Unless they did studies and sent them to Flanagan, and these are his reports back.
Yeah. What happened to your courage, Michelle? Oh, a swan. Yeah. We know what that means.
Got Lala's here. In ghost form.
Mhm.
Well, to be fair, Lala's everywhere. Lala created the multiverse.
Oh, so much pining for her, huh? For nothing. Poor bastard. I kind of feel bad for Michelle. I mean, I understand why it happened. Oh, the blood in them.
Is it going to be a kid commander, or is it going to be a surviving adult?
Probably Kid Commander.
Well, I mean, unless they just broke a dam.
No, I mean, remember, if he said the river course has changed, so, you know. That looks like a down. Yep, mobile suit. Interesting, and now Kiki is the adult in this. I mean, there were little kids in her village, but still. Oh yeah, not creepy queens. We're not doing the creepy thing.
所属と階級を言え。私はただの民間人だよ。お前は軍人だな。
Former.
私はキキロジータ。こいつは。俺は。そう。地球連邦極東方面軍機械化混成大隊第08モビルスーツ小隊ミケル・ニノリッチ伍長だ。いや、元伍長。キキとミケル。嘘をつくな。嘘じゃないわよ。ジオンの残党狩りだったら二人で来るはずないでしょ。勘違いしないで。あんたたちこんなとこにいつからいるの？ジオンの救援を待ってんのか。だったら無駄だよ。ジオンが負けたのは知ってんだろ。うるさい。
Haven't lost yet.
分かってんなら。
We got days till that happens.
投降しちゃいなよ。そうだよ。その方が安全だ。ダメだ。それはできない。
I mean, Garrett hasn't even given his second famous speech yet.
Is that Ayn?
No. I mean, literally, not unless they walked out of the cave last episode and into an explosion.
Oh, she got a backburn. I don't know if.
And also turned into a guy. So did they have... Yeah, they probably did have Xeon child outfits.
Yeah.
But the way that it's torn at the arm, I'm like, is he just using somebody else's outfit that got ripped up? And I was like, no, they probably had child soldiers. Oh, they did have child soldiers. We saw that in MS Igloo.
おとなしくしてろよ。
やったー、持ってきてくれるのか？キキと違って話が通じるよ。
さあ、あんたうるさいから毒でも盛られたりしてね。
そうか。
Oh, I thought Kiki was going to pull something very dark.
何よ。
You can negotiate, but I've got other tricks I can use.
エレドアさんみたいにわざと弾に当たって病院送りとか、隊長みたいに敵前逃亡とかなんかしちまったんだよ。
何言ってんだよ。
それで連邦にもジオンにも行けなかったんだよ、きっと。そうだ、あの宇宙艇、あいつらが落としたんだよ。
How will they fucking do that?
そりゃもちろん戦争から逃げるためさ。多分。
That's a good reason.
How though? How would they have done that?
If they were trained to be, you know.
No, he was talking about Aina and Shiro a moment ago. He said,
Yeah, no, but,
and that
but
must be it.
I think he's talking about the kids. He's talking about the kids. No?
Well, the kids didn't do
There's
that.
an example of things that are.
ほら、こっち手出しな。縄切ってやるよ。
Not the best way to do that.
冗談だろ。
ほら、早く早く。
How about you go and hand me the top of that sharp can, and I'll just cut the
Yeah.
rope off of me.
Oh, yeah. Second degree burns will do that to you.
Well, guess it was a girl.
Yeah.
Are you pissed about how they're burying their own friend? I mean, they're burying her. They didn't have to.
I mean, I'm bearing.
They are burying her. That's what's happening here.
No, I mean that that there's the reasons for burying her other than, you know.
She died. They're burying her. They could have just thrown her into the jungle for the animals to eat her. This is a form of respect. That's how you bury them. It's like when Amuro was complaining when the person got a 2-rank promotion after they died. And he's like, don't you even care? Yeah, that's why they got the 2-rank promotion. People grieve in their own fucking way, Kiki.
悲しいさ。だけど。
僕たちの心は一つ。意識は一つ。
Also, if you were a new type, you'd know that she's a fucking ghost and she won't shut the fuck up. Her and Lala, it's all over the place. It's like a fucking LSD trip all the time. There's no way. No fucking way. Maybe you should ask what Aina's last name is, just, you know, before you jump to conclusions. I don't believe it. No way. Although that would be a great reason not to air this episode on Toonami.
Yeah. He warned you.
And then
Yes, he
Michelle
warned you.
died. Due to a concussion with no doctors anywhere around.
Yeah.
I thought that was a doll.
俺に何する気だ。変なやつだな。
That's not how you make friends.
なんだよ。
Then why did you get out of the blanket?
ああ、そうじゃなくて、いい？こっちの葉っぱのお皿に乗せて、どうぞ召し上がれっていうのよ。さあさ、どうぞ召し上がれ。はい。美味しそう。いただきます。
Those are actually my turds.
もぐもぐ。ああ、美
You
味しい
shouldn't have eaten that.
あんたもやるかい？おままごと。
Teaching them to be kids because probably they never had a chance to be kids.
I guess to be fair, these guys might not know what Aina's last name was to even ask.
アイナはあんな子供じゃない。あの子はアイナじゃない。本当の名前を
You're reading our minds and fucking with us, huh?
Yeah.
アイナだ。あの子はアイナだ。
本当のこと正直に話してよ。あんた何か隠してるでしょ。
うるさい。お前らの探している男は墓の中なんだ。
なら教えて。シロはなんで死んだの？
それは
あんたが殺したの。
違う。
じゃあ。
うるさい。お前らの探している男は本当に死んだんだ。だから出ていけ。
What's the point of lying about it? Maybe to just drive them away?
Yeah, probably.
Although it wouldn't drive them
They know
away.
that-
Yeah, because they're literally saying he's buried in the grave. It's like, that's just going to keep him here. Digging up graves.
何やってんだよ。そんなにいらないだろ。
You don't need that many.
またガーンってやられちゃかな。
Yeah, I was going to say, where'd you get it from? Them, so that they have no shovels.
やっぱりやめようよ。
ダメだよ。墓ん中確かめなきゃ先に進めないだろ。
Probably very heavily decomposed by now. I don't think you can even recognize.
本当に大
I mean, if Aina just died, and you think that really is Aina, then Shiro probably not too long ago.
そこには誰もいないよ。誰もいない？
Erased. Weird. That looks like Dr. Flanagan from G-Quix, not Dr. Flanagan from 79.
Yeah. So were these kids induced to be new types? By
I
experiments?
don't think so. I'd sooner suspect that they're just something else. I would think if you could just create new types, then they're not as special as they seem to be.
I mean, it could be an experiment. And they maybe didn't work.
So I'm saying something
Or
else, like extended from Seed Destiny,
Yeah.
or I guess technically Seed.
大人たちが死んだ時はどうすればいいのかわからなかった。そんな時、シロとアイナに会った。
二人は僕たちにいろいろ教えてくれた。火の起こし方、魚の取り方、飲み水の作り方、包帯の巻き方。
それから二人はお墓を作って自分の服を埋めた。
生まれ変わるんだって。生まれ変わるか。なるほどね。その後、僕たちに名前をくれた。
名前？
僕はサンダース。
Oh.
エドは
彼、ミケル。その子はキキ。
So you're saying, "Aw," but my first thought is that they named all these kids their old friends and then abandoned them again.
す。キキはキキの名前。返す。名前。私、ミケル返す。
Also, they named two of the kids themselves, Aina and Shiro.
ダメだそんなの許さない僕らの名前なんだ返さないシロアマダは僕の名前なんだ返す
Oh, he even gave you his last name, too?
あいつ。怒らないで。わかってる。
By the way, what fucked up my whole thing? What was her last name thing? Because they just would have shed.
シロは僕の名前だ僕の名前なんだ僕がもらったんだ
あんた。
僕はシロだ名前があるんだ
Man, the guy named after Michelle is really going to be angry, considering how many people are named Michael in the world.
だからお前なんかに返さないシロは僕だけの名前なんだ
名前を取る。そんなことしないよ。できるわけないよ。そうだろ。みんな
Man, what a very confusing situation.
一人で頑張ってたんだね。みんなの大切なものだもんな。誰にも渡せっこないよな。でももういいんだよ。誰もそんなことしないから。
I mean, anybody who understands growing up in a war zone, it's Kiki, right?
白はまだだ。
Well, I mean, literally everybody. Literally everybody in Gundam.
Yeah, as kids. I'm not talking about just growing up in a war zone like this, especially as a gorilla.
But sir, today's Christmas Day. Shiro, get me the biggest turkey you can find. Tonight you'll be visited by one ghost of Christmas past. Her name's Lala. She does LSD.
Yeah, I don't think it should snow here if this is supposed to be South.
You don't
Southeast
know,
Asia,
man.
let's be talking.
Neither of us are from the Philippines or Malaysia or wherever the fuck. I'll wait till Phil
They're
Fisher.
the tropics.
I will wait till Phil Fisher comments on this. He lives in the area.
Unless it's a nuclear winter effect.
Look, as somebody like myself, if I just commented on everything that I believed to be true all the time, it comes off a different way from somebody who looks like me. We making a hot spring again? Yep.
Yeah.
What is it with Gundam and naked kids?
これも隊長が教えたのかな
79 and now this.
まったくあいつらしいよね。
で二人はどこへ北
北。
北に
To
何が
China?
あるんだ
Yes.
新しい世界新しい人生がへえまるで隊長
Sorry, do you mean north or are you pointing to space? Because it's really hard to tell and both are possible. I would not be surprised to find that Shiro is in Granada right now. Or Von Neumann, in fact. Place never gets brought up ever again. Maybe they never existed to begin with.
寝てる間に
Yeah, literally no footprints in the snow, right?
Mhm.
思うんだ
Turns out it was all the ghosts. The kids all died on the
だ
crash.
ったのかなって
But since new types are like force ghosts,
幻さそうじゃなかったら幽霊とかさ
私はどっちでもないと思うな。 とあいつらも探しに行ったんだよ。
I bet you can go back and rewatch this episode, and there's as many stone piles for the graves as there were kids.
新しい人生さ。
Mhm. They buried each other.
そうだよな。
No, maybe Shiro and Aina actually found the dead bodies. But then they buried them.
And gave them names.
It's a bunch of kids. I feels like, well, I guess Aina would have had to bury everyone because Shiro is not up for digging graves anymore.
Yeah.
This was like that valley from Downsize. Couldn't be though. That was in Europe. Okay, we just find them.
Yeah. Nope.
It was a big meal last night. Don't read into it.
Yeah.
By the way, did you encounter a bunch of kids and give them our names? Those are our names! Fight! I'm the only Michelle here. Yeah, they don't really say how much time passed between this and Christmas.
So,
Well, I mean, to say that when they find them, like, what a weird epilogue. I can see why toonami might have just stopped on 11, because 11 was a really good ending. Like, leaves you to wonder what happened. Whereas this was just a, were the kids real? Like, obviously they were real, but I mean, were they really there? Or were they the best ninjas ever? Able to walk across snow without... Again, I think it just really adds to what I keep saying about Lala.
Yeah. Also, I think let's remember that this is a down to earth, realistic story. Like, hey, remember the girl that this guy was pining the entire show? Well, guess what? They broke up. She married someone else and had a kid, and he can't get over it.
Well, again, the element of she had a kid.
Why would she
9 months.
send a mess? Yeah. Also, that means that.
And we know that he explicitly got shipped out, like, November?
Yeah.
So, and if it is what I said, that he met BB on like leave or something like that, then she was already pregnant, but she wasn't pregnant in the pictures that we saw. So yeah, that doesn't add up. She wasn't pregnant in the pictures he saw, implying that she already had the kid?
But
that maybe it was a baby when he shipped out like 2 months ago, and that we just saw a later picture. Also, why did she send him a picture? Was it maybe it was the actual Dear John? Like, this is the problem with what you said. This is our argument coming back, where you said, "Oh, you've got to send another letter," and I was like, "No, you don't. It's only going to lead to worse heartache for both of you." And it's like, well, why would she send him a picture? Obviously, he sent her another letter, and she's like, "No, it really is done. Here's a picture." It's like, now he's in a worse spot. That's the answer to your answer.
Well, he should have just broken it off. I mean, it's like the letter that he had to send was like, "We're done," and that's it. If he had respected her wishes, like, didn't have to
send any letter. She said it was done. You don't have to respond.
Yeah. Realistic though, it is a realistic outcome.
Well, to be fair, anything beyond ghosts is a realistic outcome. Unfortunately, I guess here
for their relationship, I'm talking about.
No, that's what I'm saying. Anything is realistic. Anything is real that can happen, because anything can happen. Literally, she could have showed up the next day on a transport, like with the mail guy, and said, "You know what? I don't care. I'm going to be with you forever." That would also be realistic.
Yeah, that would be pretty far-fetched.
Far-fetched.
I'm talking about what's more like. Yeah, when I say realistic, it's like the more plausible, and
I would argue that getting sent a picture of the guy that I'm now raising our kid with is also a bit far-fetched. Literally, the most realistic thing is to not get a letter. Your argument
fact,
that
they
you
seem-
have to send a letter back is what
In
I'm saying is
fact, that
unbelievable
picture-
too.
The picture is of them apparently in their wedding day because she was wearing. So apparently, this is a picture of them of her marrying this other guy.
No, we
and
saw her
holding the
before. She
baby.
wears like dresses all the time. I think it was just a
No,
normal
but
dress.
this particular picture seemed like he was in a tux and she was in a wedding dress.
I
and
think he
holding
was just
baby.
a richer, well-to-do guy.
No, I think it really was.
You know, if you go back and look at it, which I feel like you're doing, I'm going to edit it out. So don't push me on this.
I didn't.
Yeah. There was a pause there, and I felt like I was going to look up and see in your glasses a reflection of various scenes going by. It's like, not going to go with this. Because obviously, my argument is always the notes section next time is where we have an argument.
Yeah.
I
wasn't ending.
Yeah, I don't know if
I mean, I don't
like it.
hate it. I don't hate it. But it seems seems very left field. Only for them to just find him and Ina's pregnant and he's sitting there in the cottage.
I wish they had gone one way or the other, right? Like,
yeah, either they're dead or they're not, right?
No. I mean, like with the kids, like the concept of okay, we're pushing that Zeon is doing like child experimentation and whatnot. Like, push it then, go real hard. But I don't know how hard you can go with one episode. That feels like its own thing. And then
the thing is, I think it feels tagged on to the end. That's what it feels like, right?
Well, it doesn't feel tagged on. It feels like it's the main thing. It's just we don't go anywhere with it. Like, oh, they vanished and
no. But I mean, the kids thing and all that feels tagged on because at no point in this series we're talking about experimentation on kids or anything like that. It's like, oh, all of a sudden it's being experimented on.
Well, no, we've already brought up child soldiers, and we already know about the Flanagan Institute. Like, we've never really explored what the Flanagan Institute does.
Not in this particular series. If we're talking about Gundam,
I don't care.
I mean, it has to make sense.
Gundam as a series is a whole shared universe, right? It's like if we brought up if we were watching TNG and then we suddenly saw something that was only covered in TOS, we're not going to be like, well, why'd they bring it up here? On a guy that we both watch who also does Star Trek stuff. That's been his shit for a long time. Like, why are we covering this in Picard? Picard can do its own brand new stuff. You know, it doesn't have to be stuff from DS9 and TNG, and it's a shared fucking universe. I enjoy it when shared universe stuff pops up. So I don't have a problem with it popping up here, even though ATEM's team hasn't covered it before. My problem is that they don't do anything with it.
Well, you don't have time because this is literally the last episode.
No, you could do something with it, encapsulate it in one episode. It's a 26-minute episode. You could do a 26-minute story.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the wrong place. If you put it somewhere else, fine. But this is like, we're done with the show. This is the last thing. It's like, oh, by the way, random group of kids who got experimented on, and they're only here because apparently they have the same names as the MS team. I guess that's how they're being remembered.
I would argue, I'm saying this because your thing muted you for some reason, I would argue that it's not the wrong place. Like, I think anything can happen. So, the fact that they introduce it, I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with it doesn't go anywhere. Like, if you wanted to really push it, Kiki has no point. She gets introduced as some sort of weird person that Shiro creeps on. She helps him, falls in love with him. That goes nowhere, and then she vanishes after her village gets attacked. Her story starts and ends nowhere. And then she shows up here to find Shiro, and there's no resolution to that either. It's as pointless as the kids, right? She doesn't add to Shiro's story, really, other than to point out that Shiro doesn't really care about her, because he's already in love.
No, but I think her story is the story of the gorillas. She's the point of contact character between the MS team.
We don't focus on the gorillas because they also vanish as soon as Kika's gone. Like, in fact, they vanish before Kika's gone because they drop Kika off. Well, they go with them, and then Kika doesn't want to return. And then after that, we go to a side story, kind of like this, with a bunch of Zeon not refugees, but deserters, I guess, in their own right, encountering the village. And then Shiro then just stumbles into that. Based on the 7th, telling him shit. Like, nothing happens with that storyline. I would say it's the same thing that happens here, just done longer. So I don't have a
No, but I
problem
think-
with stuff coming out of left field and just like you would think, being like a Vietnam analogy, that the guerrillas in them would have a bigger role to play and be more of an emotional plot point or an emotional field to explore, right? But as soon as we're done with Top and her crew, we're done with the guerrillas. You'd think that killing the leader of the guerrillas would leave a wide opening for a greater story to be told about Kika and her, I don't know, whatever she does after, but clearly nothing. Because, oh, thank you for coming, we all would have died, but if you stay here, I don't know what'll happen, because I'll say whatever, I might blame you for it, and then as it turns out, I'm going to spend the rest of my life looking for you. It goes nowhere if you really want to think about things in those kind of aspects. But I don't. It just feels like 8th MS Team is all about like a window into a couple of weeks of the war in not Vietnam, but we're just going to call it Gundam Vietnam. I guess technically you could call it Gundam Romeo and Juliet if you wanted.
Yeah.
But people focus on the Vietnam aspect more than they do the Star-Crossed Lovers, because the Star-Crossed Lovers thing is 3 episodes.
Yeah, but, well, 4, I guess.
First episode, the episode in the mountain, obviously the last episode.
And the previous ad was also, well, they were not talking to each other, but it was sort of like, well, yeah, it was 3 episodes.
Yeah,
And this
3
was
episodes out of 12.
Yeah.
So, a fourth of the show.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, like I said, the show is actually pretty unfocused.
Oh, it's pretty tightly focused on Shin and the MS Team.
Shiro, you mean?
So,
Shin was in Gundam Seed Destiny.
yeah.
And 1
Just
episode of Gundam Seed HD Remaster. Sorry, I was also just watching our rankings where I'm talking about the characters all the time. I mean, yeah, sort of. Again, I just pointed out the whole Top episode, which only features Shiro at the very end. So, hell, the Sanders episode with the curse mostly is about Sanders. The Elidor episode is mostly about Elidor. Like, Shiro pops in at the end.
Team. Yeah.
Well, no, again, I'm saying Elidor and Michelle is about them in the town. Shiro pops in at the end. The Kiki episode where the Top comes to the village. Kira. Get me on the Gundam Seed. Shiro pops in at the end. It's like not all. Like I would say 3/4 of 8th MS Team is about Shiro and company, or Shiro specifically.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you really want to break down into it, it is a little bit unfocused. So I don't have a problem with the 12th episode having this weird thing. It's weird that it's at the end, because maybe you would want to put it in like an OVA episode that just can be anywhere. Well, I guess it couldn't be anywhere because it's fucking Michelle and Kiki. Again, I understand why Toonami did not air this episode. It's a weird episode, especially after episode 11 said end.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That was the 12th episode. 12th and final episode of 8th MS Team.
Yep, we still got a movie to get through, and then rankings afterwards, but thankfully this is a small show with a small cast. You'll be able to get through this form, hopefully. So, that said, though, I have been Theta, this has been Lessons, we've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?